and welcome to our fourth episode of our 2025 live stream series, Wild in the Wetland. My name is Rachel, and I am a watershed health educator here at the Environmental Learning Center on Clackamas Community College's campus in Oregon City. I'm so glad that you could join us today. We are going to talk all about beavers. We're going to learn about the beavers' adaptations for living in and around water and how their dam building benefits other wetland creatures. Now, today you may have in front of you this activity sheet. It's got the name of our episode. Today it's called Beavers, Nature's Builders. And the first activity is about beaver ponds. And it says, when a beaver makes a dam, it also makes habitat for wildlife. In the space below, draw a beaver dam in the stream, a pond behind the dam, and label the materials used in that dam. There's that illustration down below that you can color in and draw on, either during the episode or just after. And at the bottom, we have our community connections, because we want you to be able to take what you learned here today and take it back out into your own community. And today it says, list 4 animals that benefit from the pond behind the dam. Describe how each animal benefits from the creation of the pond. For example, number 1, frogs. Frogs find food in the pond and lay their eggs in the water. So you'll come up with 3 other animals that benefit from the beaver pond being created. So, like I said, today we are talking all about beavers, and it is a gorgeous day here at the wetland. The sun is coming out, and it was a little chilly this morning, but the birds are still singing. I just heard a crow a minute ago, and there were lots of mallards behind me swimming around and enjoying the sun. I'm glad you could join me. We're talking about beavers. And to start, I wanted to go back a few years and talk about beavers here at the Environmental Learning Center. Now, we haven't ever seen a beaver in person with our own eyes, but we have seen signs of them. Like this stick, for example. We saw that it has some teeth marks on it that are kind of hard to see maybe from here, but they look like just little scratches all across, and they're very unique to beavers. And so we saw this. We also saw some small trees being cut down, as well as some of our wetland vegetation being eaten. And at the time, we didn't realize it was a beaver. We wondered who could be doing this? What creature could it be? And we finally realized that it was a beaver. Now, like I said, we haven't seen them in person with our own eyes, but I would love to show you what a beaver looks like up close. Now, you should be seeing some great pictures of a beaver, and you can really see their unique features. They have a big tail and these dexterous front paws, as well as a nose and eyes and this gorgeous fur. And they spend part of their time in the water swimming and part of their time on the land. So let's talk about some of the adaptations of beavers and what makes them so unique and special. In front of me, I have a mount of a beaver, and this beaver is quite old. You may be able to tell by the light color of its fur, and that's just from the sun bleaching their fur a little bit too much. So beavers are not usually this color, they're more of this color. Let's talk about their fur. They have some really gorgeous fur, and their fur is made up of 2 different types of hair. A guard hair, which is longer and silkier, and it also helps the beaver to be waterproof. And under that guard hair, they have a more wool type fur. It's very soft and fluffy, and it keeps them warm. And it's very beautiful and very soft. And if I was a beaver, or if a beaver was a human, it would almost be like they were wearing a wool coat or a wool sweater under their jacket, and then a raincoat on top. So they'd be warm and waterproof. So we can emulate beavers a little bit by wearing 2 jackets, just like how their fur is. Another unique adaptation for beavers are their eyes. Have you ever tried to swim underwater with your eyes open? I have. And I can only keep my eyes open for a few seconds. It's kind of hard because the water will irritate your eyes sometimes. But for a beaver, they spend a lot of time swimming and going underwater, and they need to be able to see. So they have this second eyelid. It's called a nictitating membrane, and it closes over their eyes, but it's clear, so they can see through it, and their eyes don't get irritated by the water. It's almost like they're wearing goggles, like we would wear swim goggles if we were wanting to see underwater while we were swimming. Another interesting piece of a beaver is their feet. They have webbed feet. It's hard to see on this pelt here, but on our model, they have webbing on their feet, which is when they're between their toes, they have skin. So it's like if we had webbed hands or webbed feet, and it really helps them to swim and be really strong swimmers and go really fast in the water. And that helps them to build their dams and escape predators by being able to swim faster. Another unique feature you may be familiar with is their tail. Beavers have this really big, strong tail on the end of their bodies. And it not only is interesting to look at, but it helps them to store fat for the winter so they can survive, as well as help them swim and change directions in the water. And my favorite, most interesting feature that I learned was that beavers can use their tail to slap the water and make lots of noise to warn other beavers of danger. So interesting. I did not know that until recently. Now, the last thing I want to talk about are the beavers' mouths and their teeth. They've got these big front teeth, and they're a little bit orange, as you can see, and they help the beaver to chew on all the woody materials that they are trying to cut down, like trees or maybe vegetation when they eat. And the interesting thing about their teeth is that they grow 6 millimeters every day. And 6 millimeters is not a lot compared to other things, but in a beaver's mouth with their teeth, that can be a lot. So to keep their teeth the correct size, they chew on lots of woody materials, and it helps to like shave them down a little bit so that they can be the correct size. Their teeth are very sharp and very strong, and it helps them to chew through wood. Just like this piece of wood here. They can chew through a 5-inch diameter piece of wood just like this in 3 minutes. I don't know if we could do that with our teeth, but beavers can, and it makes them very successful. The other thing we talked about today was beavers building dams. Now, why do we think beavers build dams? It's a lot of energy, it's a lot of work for beavers to do that. So why do they do it? They actually do it to build a home for themselves. So I would love to show you a picture of a beaver dam. You can see how the water has been stopped up behind it. There's lots of sticks and mud and rocks all in the way. And these beaver dams help to create a pond behind them, as well as a place for the beavers to live in and swim in behind it. Now, beavers also, in addition to building dams, they build a beaver lodge. And that can be in a separate area, and that's kind of a big mound that's hollow inside where they can sleep and stay safe and warm, and they can also store food in there sometimes. Let's talk about how beaver dams are important for water quality. So water quality is the measurement of how clean and healthy water is in an area when we measure it. And beaver dams, they slow the water down, and that helps to filter the water. So as the water moves through a dam, it moves very slowly through, and that helps it to filter the water. And filtration is when solids and liquids are being separated through a filter or membrane that only allows liquids to flow through. Now let's not talk about it. I'm going to show you what a beaver dam can even look like. So let's come over here to our small environment that we've made. I've got a little sandbox here, and let's say that this is a stream flowing in our sandbox. And I'm going to pour some water to show you how a stream usually flows. It'll usually just flow straight through, right? Not a lot of pooling. You saw the water just went straight through. Now, what if we had a beaver dam in the way? We've got where our stream usually flows through here. And let's say that a beaver built a dam like this one. I made this one out of rocks and sticks and clay in place of mud. So let's say we've got our dam right here, and the water wants to flow down that river. Let's see what happens. So that water can't pass. Can you see that a little better? All right, so when I poured that water in, it flowed up towards the dam and it didn't pass. It only passed a little bit. You can see that it started to pond and pool in the back. And that's what happens when you put a beaver dam in. And when it creates this pond back here, it helps to stop flooding in areas, recurrent flooding, and it also creates habitat for many other creatures. Just like this beaver pond. And what you're seeing now is an illustration of a beaver pond and what it can look like once it's grown up and some of these plants have come in. And it brings other animals. Now, like I said, beavers are building dams in order to build themselves a home. But little do they know that by creating their home, it also creates more homes for other animals. Now, how many animals can you see on this illustration that are benefiting from this beaver pond? I'm counting about 10 different animals. We've got all kinds of animals that live in the water or the plants or drink the water, all in that area. They're all really benefiting. Now, let's look at specifically who exactly benefits from beaver dams in our area. The mallards, a heron, a frog, turtles even benefit, as well as some salmon and dragonflies. This pond can have a really big impact on all different creatures in an area just by creating that pond. And another interesting thing about beaver dams is that they can really help an area recover after, say, a natural disaster like a fire. This area has been burned, as you can see, but there's a lot of green in the center. And right there at the end of the arrow is a beaver dam. By that beaver dam being there, it has really helped that area recover more quickly than the other areas. Beaver dams are so important to the environment, and beavers are truly nature's builders because as they build their homes using all of their unique adaptations all over their body, they are able to not only build their homes, but create homes for other creatures and help to improve the environment by improving the water quality. They truly are nature's builders. I'm so glad that you could join me today to talk about beavers. If you have any questions, I would love to hear them. So go ahead and send in your questions. But I think that we have Sarah here, and I think she has some questions for us. Do you have some?
Yeah, good morning. I'm Sarah Bidwell. I'm the kids education coordinator, and we did have some questions that were sent in by some students from around the county. So Liam wrote in from Oregon City, and he is wondering, how big is the largest beaver dam?
Oh,
What
good
do you think?
question.
Has anyone ever seen a beaver dam? Picture that in your head. Okay, so the largest beaver dam is actually in Alberta, Canada. And it is 2,788 feet long. So to
Wow.
give you a sense of how long that is, picture like a football field, and then picture over 9 football fields put end to end. That's as long as this beaver dam is. And satellites way up in space, when they take pictures of Earth, they actually can see that beaver dam way up from space. It's that
Yeah.
big. It's so cool.
That is so cool. That's
Awesome.
awesome. Great question, Liam. Thank you.
Do we have any other questions coming in? Because I've
Nothing.
got a few more that were sent in. So Anna from Sandy was wondering how long beaver dams can last.
Oh.
So that can really depend upon what's happening in that particular environment. You know, storm can break it. But if it's left undisturbed, some beaver dams can last centuries, so hundreds of years. Like that one I described in Canada, that's probably been there for a couple hundred years.
Oh my
So they can
gosh.
last a really long time. You know, I was thinking when we were talking, when Rachel was talking about beaver dams, it made me think of this area where I go hiking a lot. And a few years ago, the beavers came in and they built dams. And it was so cool to see all the animals that came into that space that like weren't there before. We started seeing fish in the water, and then
Wow.
we started seeing great blue herons more often. Just this last weekend, I went down there and I saw a great egret, which is a large white wading bird. So that tells us that there's food in that pond, that water for those animals to hunt. We've also seen river otter down there. So they're probably feeding on the fish and the mollusks that are there. We've seen salmon down there. So that's kind of all thanks to the beaver and their dam building, and they're helping to clean the water and slow it down. So there really are nature's engineers.
Wow, that's
All right.
amazing. Any other
Michelle,
questions?
do we have any other questions? Okay.
That's
All
okay.
right, I got one final one. Alex from Clackamas is wondering how long beavers live.
Oh,
So they can live to be about 16.
16 years.
Yeah.
Wow, that seems like a long time.
Yeah, it sure does.
Very cool.
All right. Well, are we up for time?
I think so. Do we have any other last minute questions?
No last minute questions.
No?
All
Okay,
right,
that's
good deal.
okay.
Please remember to send in your questions. We love
Yeah.
questions. It helps us learn more. And we'd love people who are super curious about the natural world. Awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much for bringing
You
those
bet.
extra questions.
You bet.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all for being here, like I said, to learn about beavers and all of the new things that we learned today were super interesting. Even I learned a few things about our beaver dams, the biggest one in the world. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you can join me next week when we learn about animal homes. We're going to talk about all the different animal homes that we see in the wetland here.
Yep.
All right, well, till next time, stay curious, get outside to explore, and I'll see you around the wetland.